The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. This is what you can look forward to on episode 459 of Skywalking Through Neverland. So suddenly the Dune popcorn bucket, I mean, it was bigger than the movie.
The naughty perspective hit social media, and then they just latched onto that like wildfire.
Yeah, next we'll be going, okay, ILM and NASA, you're contracted to do our next popcorn buckets.
There's always that nag factor, right? You gotta look at that product and really want it. Oh yeah, I have some friends, when I walk into their houses, it's like, it's a museum of my stuff.
Did you ever think that you would see a droid twerking in Star Wars?
No!
Are you ready?
Welcome to Neverland.
Here we go!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets love.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
You use a bird to write with. It's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! So what have you added to your collection lately? Maybe a popcorn bucket, a soda sipper, or a dune sandworm? Chances are, they're all... Oh my goodness, the stories he told us.
About the dune sandworm, yes.
All right. Let me start that again.
Okay. Oh, that was funny.
Okay. Chances are they're all connected by today's guest. But first, we want to welcome you back to Skywalking Through Neverland. I am Richard Woloski, and I got the giggles now. But now, I want to introduce you to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who doesn't have the giggles.
I was going to wonder how you're going to introduce me after that.
Yeah, it was touch and go there for a minute.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you'll see why I got the giggles, because our guest today was telling us stories about that dune sandworm popcorn bucket.
That and the SNL sketch.
And then Sarah showed me the SNL sketch, and then
it's all over
it all
from
came
there.
together.
As Corey Orton is showing, just a bunch of laughs.
It all just came together right now.
Laugh emoji. Okay. Well, Skywalkers, we are your enthusiastic and giggly podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, and pop culture fandom. So it's time. Imagine a big Wookiee hug from us. Not a dune sandworm bucket something from us. And imagine a sprinkle of pixie dust for our family of Skywalkers. So Skywalkers, we are live on the Skywalking Through Neverland YouTube channel right now. That is who we're talking to throughout this show. And that is where we recommend you really watch this episode, because we're going to be talking a lot about popcorn buckets and things that you really should see to understand.
Very, very visual.
Yes. So make sure you head over to Skywalking Through Neverland, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and off you go.
Yeah, and you know what? Every week we always ask the Skywalkers, we need to get to the next level of subscribers, and every week the Skywalkers pull through for us.
Yeah.
So right now we are at 8845.
We did it!
We did it. And what do you say? By next week, 8850. Come on, we can do that, can't we?
I think so.
8850. I would be so ecstatic. Every week, the Skywalkers have not let us down. I don't know what you're doing, but maybe we don't want to know what you're doing to get us these subscribers, but you're doing it, and we thank you.
We also want to thank everyone on Instagram who may be new. There's been about 250 new followers on Instagram since Season of the Force began. So we want to welcome new Skywalkers. Thank you, Skywalkers, for following us on Instagram. We have over 3,500 now.
Whoa.
Which is exciting.
Yeah.
And we did some really fun reels, especially with like Sabine, That's doing well. And the little BDX droids that are now
the twerking BDX droid.
Oh my gosh. Everyone's sharing them in their Instagram stories. It's so much fun.
Did you ever think that you would see a droid twerking in Star Wars?
No. Oh my god. Okay, you know what? You guys are on YouTube right now. Hold on. I'm going to show it to you again because it's just too cute. Look at this. You
know what? I'm gonna guess that you will never see that again. I think the controllers, the handlers were having a little bit too much fun, and someone pulled the handlers aside and said, "Okay, never again. Never again."
I don't know. They're pretty cute.
Yeah, that's quite a seductive dance.
Really?
Provocative.
It's a droid.
I know, but Disney they get a certain level that they want to keep.
That's true.
Certain level of decency. Which is why they didn't put out that Dune sand worm popcorn bucket.
Yeah. If Dune was owned by Disney, that wouldn't have happened.
No, not at all.
Well, in this episode, Marcus Gonzalez returns to share his latest designs in the collecting subculture of popcorn buckets, sippers, and those fun items available at theme parks and movie theaters. And he even gives a little tease of what's to come for the Phantom Menace anniversary release.
Exclusive tease.
Yeah.
All right, now we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency and can help you book your trip to a Disney park around the world or even on a Disney cruise. And you can even ask the Turkells for some advice on that. And best of all, this is free. This service is free of charge. So head over there to smallworldvacations.com for a no-obligation price quote and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you, or the Neverland Clubhouse.
That's true.
Both will work.
We are recording this episode from Long Beach, California on April 16th, 2024. So, Richard, what happened today in Star Wars history?
Can you believe it? 9 years ago today, on April the 16th, 2015, Celebration Anaheim begins at the Anaheim Convention Center right here in our own backyard in Anaheim, California, which is where every celebration should take place.
So much fun.
Now, this is on the cusp of a new Star Wars film coming out, so Star Wars Frenzy was at an all-time high. And the opening panel to Celebration was the Force Awakens panel that featured the cast. J.J. Abrams came out, Kathleen Kennedy, and BB-8. Oh my goodness. Oh.
BB-8 rolled out on stage.
We had seen BB-8 in the teaser just a few months prior, and we're thinking, how could this concept work? How could this little ball roll around with a head balanced on top? There's no way it can work. And he came rolling out on stage.
Like a practical version.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
How?
Like how?
Blew us to bits. Then they showed the second teaser trailer for The Force Awakens. And it ended with...
Chewie, we're home.
But we didn't hear that the first time through because all of a sudden Han and Chewie, they showed them on screen walking into the Falcon and everyone went nuts.
Yeah.
And yes, Reynold is saying, woohoo, love Star Wars Celebration, Chewie, we're home. He says, yes. Everyone went nuts. And then JJ was like, should we run that again? We're like, yes.
We don't know what happened the first time.
Yeah. And so then we all were quiet and heard Chewie, we're home. And we're like, oh, no.
That's all anyone said the rest of the convention.
And you know what? I'm just getting this now, but we were just watching The Power of Film episodes, and one of the lines...
It's a documentary series.
It's a documentary series.
I think on Apple Plus or one of the streaming services.
One of those streaming services. But one of the movies he went over was The Wizard of Oz. And, a famous line from that movie is, there's no place like home. And now that just hit home. Like, oh my God, that just hit home for me. It's like, oh.
Yeah, because what's that one thing that really unites people to where they're most comfortable? Home.
Yes.
So that's the magic word right there. So put home in any title, any movie, gonna be a huge hit. Now also at the convention,
Home Alone.
Right there. And then there's Home Alone. No, just Home Alone.
Okay.
Okay. And also at the convention, there was the panel Conversations with Gareth Edwards and Josh Trank. You might be thinking, who's Josh Trank?
Exactly.
Yeah, he was the guy fired off of the Boba Fett film.
Yep.
After they saw the Fantastic Four, Disney said, yeah, maybe not.
Aww.
But this convention was so great. We had our first big podcast show.
I was gonna say
this convention.
This was the first convention where we were podcasters.
Yeah.
And they had a podcasting stage, and we got in on it, and it was so cool.
This
oh my
was
gosh.
so much fun. This was a big variety show. They had so many plates spinning on this. Oh my goodness, it was a blast seeing all the Skywalkers come into this room. It's like we got like 3 or 4 people. Room was packed.
Oh yeah, so
Oh, my
great.
goodness.
And some of you watching right now were probably there. Yay.
All right, now we could talk the whole time about Celebration Anaheim, but let's move on to the phenomenon that has carved its own niche in collecting: popcorn buckets and soda sippers. Theme park and movie theater collectibles have formed their own subculture. Popcorn buckets, cup toppers, and soda sippers come in all designs, from droids, infinity gauntlets, and a sandworm.
Marcus Gonzalez is back on the show to update us on what fun items he and his team have designed recently and why this is such a big phenomenon. Hey, Marcus!
Hello.
It is great to see you again. I know we last had you on the show in 2014. I can't believe it's been that many years.
I can't believe that either. That it felt like a blink.
It really did.
Yeah, you were on one of our first shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, since 2014, has there been anything new in the popcorn bucket industry since then?
Nothing at all.
Well, we don't have much to talk about then.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thanks for coming on.
Hey, see you later. No, especially in the last few years, there's been a lot of changes, particularly in the movie industry. So there was a really big popcorn bucket that Zinc did. I wasn't here yet, but they did a R2D2, and it was massive. It's like taller than my head, and basically the barrel part of R2D2 was a popcorn bucket. And then the dome part was a sipper, so it was sold as a combo. So you bought that, and I think it had unlimited popcorn refills. It was for like episode 7 or 8, and it was to get people back into the movie theaters and give them a big wow and see if they would like it. So, nobody was sure how well it was going to do, but it sold really, really well. And it started to pique a little bit of interest in the theater world. As far as popcorn buckets and stuff were concerned. So, you fast forward from teasing one of those and having it sell to where we're kind of at today, where we're looking at, all these custom popcorn buckets and custom drink vessels, as well as toppers. And, now there's that shift into also looking at and developing retail items. So, in addition to your, like some of the things you normally see, like a keychain or something, you'll start seeing things like socks and blankets, and some of them are these really cool customized blankets that have like character hoods, and they zip up into pillows, and they're pretty awesome.
Now, is this stuff that's sold in movie theaters too? The retail stuff?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a whole new division we didn't even know about.
Yeah.
Especially this 2-in-1 popcorn bucket and soda sipper all in an R2D2. Where was this sold?
AMC, actually. AMC is kind of leading the way. So they've had really cool, innovative products out in their movie theaters. So not only do they offer things like these combos and a lot of the unique popcorn buckets you've seen. So like the Dune one was an AMC exclusive. So they're the ones looking for different ways of presenting something, but making it cooler. And how can you do it just that little bit different, so that there's there's always that nag factor, right? You got to look at that product and really want it, because when you're going to the movie theater, you're not going to buy a blanket. But while you're in line and you're going, wow, it's a little chilly in here for a summer afternoon, and hey, there's a blanket. And it's Garfield, so I want it. And you go and get it.
Okay, so when you say nag factor, that's what you mean. It's like it's nagging someone's mind, like, oh, I want that thing.
even in my Disney days, I always used to refer to the nag factor. Some people, especially with the Disney speak, would refer to it as like a weenie because that's, what Walt would refer to some of these things as. But
Right.
that nag factor really has to do with the fact that, like back in the old days in the parks, when you went to a popcorn wagon, you pretty much went to go buy popcorn. You didn't go to buy the bucket. And then it's like, oh, there's a bucket. It's blah, blah, blah. I have to have it. And that's where the nag factor comes into play because and the kids, mom, I want the Iron Man bucket. I want the Iron Man bucket. I want the Iron Man bucket. And that's where that comes from. So part of it is guests or customers, depending on what side of the fence you're talking about. They have to have it even though they didn't know that it existed until they're right there in line.
Oh,
right.
yeah. And these popcorn buckets, as soon as the rope drops, people are barreling toward those popcorn stands just to get these awesome popcorn buckets and soda holders.
Yeah, sippers, right.
Yeah. When we go to the parks, it's like we didn't know we wanted this Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet that can hold a Coca-Cola, but we want it now.
We want it now. Absolutely. Like, yeah, there's so many cool buckets. And I think you originally did the Thanos
the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yep.
Right.
And we did that one, and people weren't 100% convinced that people were going to buy a gauntlet. Well, we put a lot of time and effort into development, but we weren't, like, generally speaking, people weren't sure if people were going to buy it. And then it sold out, and then it was the mad rush to get more because of the Infinity Gauntlet. The Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet ended up being kind of low-hanging fruit. It also gave the opportunity to do the things that we didn't do that we wanted to do with Infinity Gauntlet, because the goal was always to have the gems light up, and all that kind of stuff. And then with the Iron Man one, to me, it was even cooler because we chromed that sucker. So we had the red chrome and it looked all shiny and, very eye-catching on the cart.
And the fact that you're actually holding like your Coca-Cola bottle with the gauntlet.
Yeah. And that was the other thing too, is that we learned from the Thanos one to this one was that with the Thanos, we built the sipper into the fist. Whereas this one, we designed it so that it had like that little basket. So you could put a 20-ounce, cup with the lid,
right,
or it'll fit the 20-ounce contour bottle as well.
Perfect.
So now you worked at Disney from 1990 through 2022. You worked on a whole lot of stuff. So can you narrow down your top favorite 35 items, or just maybe a handful?
For sure, the Iron Man Infinity Gauntlet. That was one of my favorite ones. And then there's one that a lot of people don't know about that actually came out on the Disney cruise. They had like a hyperspace lounge or something. Star Wars themed bar. Yes. So we developed this coaxium box, and in the coaxium box you had 3 coaxium vials, but part of it was when you got to keep the vessel. So it was a coaxium case, and when they pulled it open, smoke would come out, and you'd have your 3 vials, which would be set down, and those were your 3, like a flight of drinks, and then you got to keep the whole thing. But it was all like ultra top shelf spirits that were in the cocktails and stuff. It was really complex because, it smoked. And one of the challenges is how are you going to get it to do the smoke effect without using dry ice? Because dry ice there's some safety challenges. So part of it was how do you get it to work, which is, it's like the ones they use for plants. It's that UV ultrasonic little thing that actually makes the water vaporize. So it was, how do you put it in there? And there's instructions on how to load the water by the servers had to load it. So all to try to do that effect where when you open it, you've got the smoke coming out.
Wow.
These are getting more and more intricate.
I know.
Yeah, next we'll be going, okay, ILM and NASA, you're contracted to do our next popcorn buckets.
Well, and you jest about that, but we're doing development work for a lot of different clients, and Disney is, ironically, a client of the company. So I'm still I'm still involved in some of the stuff from before, plus merchandise, plus the theaters. So
take us through the design process when, like, for the Star Wars or any property. How soon before the movie or film comes out, and where are you on this ladder of of conceptual supervisors?
Well, I'm the global creative director. So when it comes to cinema, so we're talking about like, let's just say pick a movie, Deadpool or whatever. We try to be 12 to 18 months out, ideally. But it's been, that's where our goal was. So when I started, it wasn't quite there. And the goal is to try to do things 12 to 18 months out. So we're almost there. And, part of it is trying to figure out where the challenges are. So from the beginning, there's challenges. And the biggest challenge is going to be getting assets, a style guide, and all that kind of stuff. Because they're really geared more towards marketing, more often than not, those style guides won't be ready until 3 to 6 months before the movie comes out, which can be challenging, especially when you're producing like 3-dimensional objects, like the 20-sided die popcorn bucket we came out for Dungeons and Dragons. Your tooling and everything puts you out, it's like 45 days of tooling, 45 days of production, 45 days on the water if you're bringing it to the United States. So you kind of have to take all that stuff into consideration. Wow. So we do start with kind of like the ideation part and kind of figuring out what we think our assortment is going to be. But part of it is dictated by, is it a North American movie only? Is it going to be global? Sizes of popcorn buckets and stuff are dictated by the market that you're in. So, Southeast Asia and the different areas in Asia, 64 ounces is enormous. In the United States, 130 ounces is okay. So, it's all relative.
Wow.
So what do you do there? Do you make one for each, or do you try to compromise by doing one in the middle size?
It depends. You put the concepts together, the sales team pitches it to their clients. And if the client is interested in something, then, they know what their quantities have to be for minimums. And they just kind of, it's going to cost, they'll have costing by then. So they'll say, if you want your 64-ounce bucket, it's going to cost this amount. But if you can't afford it, you can buy the 103 or 130-ounce one. It's going to cost you this much because you're buying into somebody else. So part of it is trying to help them, especially if they're smaller amounts, if they're like, if they're not a Regal or an AMC, if they're like a smaller owned and operated, then, it's the opportunity to purchase things collectively with other people is what will help them do that.
Oh, I see.
Wait, 18 months, that's a long window.
It's the same as Disney.
Yeah, some films won't even shoot until 18 months before the film comes out. So they may have you, has this ever happened where they say, we want this, but then a few weeks later they said, oh, that's not going to make it into the final cut, or we had to redesign that spaceship or character?
Oftentimes things will change. And, sometimes it isn't that big of a deal. It's like the original design had a dark red, and it turns out, and let's just say it's PMS 186. And then a week or two later, they're like, well, we actually changed the costume a little bit and lightened it up. So it's really a lighter red. So you're going to have to go with, 170 or something.
Okay.
So, but, part of it, especially that far out, is if we understand the IP, if it's something that we're familiar with, like, Venom, we're pretty familiar with who the character is and all that. So if we don't know the storyline, can we still develop Venom-based characters that would work without telling the story? And, so then we will take opportunities to be able to build that kind of stuff. And we'll still run it by the respective studios, have them give us some feedback based on what they know then and there, and try to work on stuff that far ahead. The big ones that we need to work ahead of time on are 3D items. So anything that we refer to it as bespoke. So anything customized, like the 20-sided die or the Mario Brothers tin or any of those things. Well, the Mario Brothers tin is different because it's just printed, so it takes less time. But anything that's sculpted that requires tools is usually, things that we try to do. Yeah, like all that stuff, like you see the anger from Inside Out, those things take a considerable amount of time, and, take into account that not only do we have internal reviews to look at it in terms of what we want to execute, but it's also in terms of like what Disney or Pixar or Paramount or, Amazon, what their feedback is based on their IP.
Right.
So,
yeah. So that's a question I had for you. So it's the theater groups that are reaching out to your company and paying for, they're the clients basically. And the studios are just like, the studios aren't the one reaching out to you guys.
No, they're the licensors when we reach out to them and we express interest in any particular movies. So in about a month, we'll be going to Las Vegas. They have the licensing show. So we take the time to go visit all the different studios, talk about their upcoming slate of films, express interest, and let them know, we're interested in doing this movie, that Captain America and Thunderbolts and whatever else. And then there's an agreement of what kinds of things we can make. So it can run from just printed round popcorn buckets, 5-sided buckets, holographic buckets, some that change with, color changing temperature ones, as well as the more bespoke stuff. So we do the shape things and, like the star that you saw, we do a star bucket, or we'll do, we try to do fun stuff that's different and unique. So even as simple as the question mark Mario bucket was, it fit perfectly because, the question mark's the square and it fits in the game world and it also fits in the film. So just printing that on an already existing bucket was kind of a no-brainer. And it was very, very popular. I think it sold out before the weekend was even over.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So what kind of stuff do they turn down? Like, I'm guessing like weapons.
It's usually just nitpicky stuff, or it's especially if we're really far out and they haven't shared the story. Let's say Avengers, and you did the first Avengers movie, but you presented a Red Hulk fist as a sipper. If we were just guessing and we made up a Red Hulk, they're like, well, Red Hulk really isn't in Avengers, so you might want to take that out. Or, since Hulk is going to be in Avengers, just make it green. So sometimes it's something as simple as that, or if it's a series of movies, let's say it's a Scream. In this version of Scream, it isn't the same ghost face. The ghost face, is cracked or something. So we don't know that. If we get it early enough, the changes early enough in the process, then we can change it before we go to tooling. So part of it is we try to share early concepts with whatever studio so that if they do have that information, they can at least tell us. We may not be able to talk about it publicly, but we at least have that so that we can build it internally so that it's ready for when we can talk about it publicly.
Right.
Okay.
So it goes from the theater goers, the theater managers, the theater owners, to you, and then you present everything to the studio as an idea, or do you have to have some kind of a maquette to show them?
So, it's more like we go out and get the licenses. So we work with the studios, and then from the studios, we come up with concepts and we put the concepts together. And part of it is we know what certain theater companies, we know what they want. So we know they're going to want a 64-ounce tub, and they want to see at least a specialty popcorn bucket, a specialty drink vessel, and maybe some retail items. So we put together concepts. We either Photoshop them, AI them, somehow put them together in a visual presentation with all the specifications. That gets put into like a sales pack, and that sales pack is shared with the theater, our clients.
Okay.
Okay, I got it.
So it's almost like they get to pick from a catalog of things that we're going to be working on.
Okay, so
if there's any tweaks, they're going to be minimal, and we're going to keep them up to date so that they know, so that there's no surprises. And you want to keep the theaters happy because they're the ones that everyone's going to clamor over to their theater to go buy whatever it is. So
buy the thing and put it on social media because it's a status symbol, right?
Well, I can imagine the NDAs they all have to fill out too, because if they're seeing plot points to big franchises to these films that are coming out another year and a half, they got to keep that all under wraps.
Yep, and you have to keep all of it under wraps because yes, there's prototypes, so we'll share confidential photos and all of that. It's like you can see it, but you can't screen cap it or take a picture. Or if we have a physical sample, it's like, no. You can look at it, ooh, ah, and touch it, but you bring that camera out and you're in trouble, mister.
So what percentage of these items that you develop and present to the movie theaters is actually produced?
From the concepts, I'd say maybe there's 65 to 75% that's actually produced. And then, but you may not see all of them because it's sold globally. For instance, Dungeons and Dragons. That's a great example. The 20-sided dice sold here in the United States. It also sold in Asia. What didn't sell here, or no one ordered in the United States, was a dice tower. So we designed a drink vessel. The middle was like a stone turret, and that cylinder was basically the soda vessel. Had the straw up on top, and then it had a clear cylinder that went outside, and it had stone steps that went around the tower. So there was an opening on top. Oh, and a dragon was wrapped around it. So basically, you throw your D&D dice into the opening on top, and it would go spiraling down the stairs to the bottom and come out of a thing on the bottom. So that was the dual purpose on that, and it sold in Asia, and it was received very well in Asia.
That's really cool. We were just at a convention where we saw someone who creates, like he just 3D sculpts these little dice towers. So I know exactly what you're talking about. You can throw the dice in and it just beep, 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 goes down. But that's awesome. You made it a drink vessel. So it's like you said, dual purpose, something you can use at home, which are some of the items we love here.
Yeah. So when you were working over at Disney, that was like the height of the Star Wars sequel era. What were some of the big popcorn buckets or soda sippers or items that you had worked on?
When I was there, we had done like the Millennium Falcon popcorn vessel, the TIE Fighter, the AT-AT, which is my favorite.
Hold on, we got the TIE Fighter here.
Yep, that's a TIE Fighter dessert bowl. And
yeah, you can put a fondue in here.
Yeah. The big one that it was more of a passion project was the AT-AT, because that was kind of like one of the biggest buckets that we came out with, and there was a lot of work we ended up putting behind it. But the first like vessel Star Wars item was actually the R2-D2 Stein and the R2-D2 popcorn bucket. That's kind of where we started the Star Wars souvenir stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, we get a collection of like 3 of those.
Oh yeah.
they came out like we gotta just keep on buying them. We just love this new concept so much.
Now, did you work on this little beauty, this little Grogu?
We talked about making one before I left, and then they ended up making that. It's really cute. It's very, very cute.
Oh, but I think were you there for Galaxy's Edge opening?
Yeah. Actually, I was involved in all the pre-work leading up to opening. So when we launched, the mouse droid was part of what we did, and also the mugs over in Oga's. So all those specialty vessels that were in the cocktails, the Porg mug, that was part of what I was involved with.
That is so awesome.
Most of the stuff we have in our living room, in our kitchen, and is all stuff that you had worked on.
Oh yeah. I have some friends, when I walk into their houses, it's like it's a museum of my stuff.
Now for Grogu, that was like one of the best kept secrets ever. How soon before The Mandalorian came out did you know about the character of Grogu?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't know about Grogu until we saw it on the screen. And then we're like, oh my God, we need to do something Grogu. And we quickly put concepts together, but sometimes it just takes time for things to get a little bit of traction. And, part of it is making sure, are you telling the right story in the right place? So if you're going to do a Grogu sipper or a Grogu popcorn bucket or anything like that, where does it live? Can it live at Galaxy's Edge? Is it telling the right story? So then does it go in, Tomorrowland or what have you?
But you make a good point, because Galaxy's Edge is inhibited by the fact that it's in universe. It can't have these items out, like this Jabba the Hutt bucket that is new now.
That just came out for Season of the Force.
That's the one that you open and it laughs at you, right? Yep.
Oh my God. Yeah. So it opens right up.
Yeah. We were also involved with that one. It's really cool. I like also, I think that's the first time that anyone got to put out, at least in a food and beverage capacity, put Salicious Crumb out there. I'm still waiting for a coffee shop to do a Salicious Crumb cake.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Well, yeah, why doesn't Star Wars Nights have that?
Oh, I would love that.
I'm guessing the Star Wars items aren't as difficult because a lot of these characters have been out for 40 years, so there's no spoiling anything. Like this and the AT-AT and the Millennium Falcon.
the not spoiling part is correct, but it still ends up taking time because Lucasfilm is very exacting when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I respect that. It's cool. Even when we did R2D2, making sure you got all the hits of blue and silver in the right spot. The only challenge back then was that when all was said and done, and we were getting it priced based on Lucasfilm feedback, there ended up being like over 1,000 paint applications on there, and and unbeknownst to most people, you see those buckets and stuff, and you assume that it's all done in a production line, which the injection molding part is. All the paint applications on those things are still hand applied. There's still a person hitting a little paint on a certain spot. So,
wow. So like this Jabba here.
So like open Jabba and look inside. So that's the base color of the plastic. Everything else has been paint applications.
Wow.
So not every Jabba is the same. Some may have a different, slightly different paint scheme.
Yeah, and it's the same. The challenge is the same. Like with these, and we did like for Moana years ago, we did these bamboo zippers. The challenge was the factory would come back and say, "All right, well, we did what you asked in terms of like the aging or the kind of like the texturing for the bamboo, but not all of them. Every single one is different than the other." And we're going, but that's what we want. And they weren't used to that.
Oh,
they weren't used to having it all be not consistently perfect from one to the other, because it's the imperfections that made it unique. It's the imperfections that made it good.
Yeah.
So
right.
They've learned to embrace that, especially because here in the US, our clients typically want things that have that uniqueness. So, if you're going to feather paint, like on the top of Jabba's head, if you're going to feather it so that it goes from, full color to just dissipates, then you're going to apply a stencil, but you're applying the stencil up above. So you kind of feather that finish. And so you're not going to have, like, if you look one next to the other, they're not going to be 100% perfect.
Wow.
We'll have to check some other.
Yeah, it's kind of the point. It's what makes it look, I mean, I'm always a fan of things being more artisanal than looking manufactured. So something that's manufactured that can still have an artisanal feel is always a good thing. Tiki mugs are completely done by hand. It doesn't matter if you're a home artisan or you're ordering them from China. All the difference is in China, they have a big building, much bigger than your garage. But they're still doing the same thing. They're pouring liquid clay into a mold and pulling those molds out. After they're fired, they're hand applying glazes, they're hand applying stains, they're hand applying all kinds of things to get the finishes that they get. So it's completely handmade from beginning to end. And that's another one. You pull up a tiki mug and you put two right next to each other, they're not going to be the same.
Yeah, that's one of our new other obsessions.
Oh,
tiki
yeah.
mugs.
Yeah. And I know you've worked on some great ones. So suddenly the Dune popcorn bucket, I mean, it was bigger than the movie this past month. So what did you think when you saw like all these social media posts, the articles, and you were interviewed for some of these articles and the SNL sketch?
It was crazy because, my team and I were sitting around trying to figure out what unique thing we wanted to do for Dune. And we were trying to look at things that weren't the worm, and only because, and interestingly enough, one of the ideas was like, we can't do a full length worm because it just looks kind of phallic, and we kind of like, we're not gonna go there.
What's the lesser of two evils?
And then we look at like that, the pain box and stuff, and is it iconic enough? Are people going to want to collect it? And ultimately, my art director kind of went, well, what if we design it as a lid and we have the worm coming out of the sand? I said, yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. But if we're going to do that, how are we going to interpret the teeth? And he goes, it'd be really cool is you can reach in and get it. I said, still, teeth, what are we going to do? And he goes, well, if we do like a koosh ball, so we do like the silicone as teeth, and then when you reach in, your hands have to go through it, so that way they're not sharp. And we all kind of went, that's actually a kind of cool idea. Since we're all a bunch of nerds, we're kind of like, yeah, we would probably buy that. So the next day he rendered it in 3D. And we all took a look at it and we're like, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Let's run it up the flagpole. Sales guys loved it, shared it with the cinema people. They loved it. Then we sent it through to Legendary, and they loved it. So we just went forward with it. And then, the first samples hit a certain theater somewhere, and someone took a picture of it and they shared it on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And of course, someone in the company caught wind of it and shared it, and we're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the next one came, and people were starting to make references to what it resembles. And, to be perfectly honest, I think there was always that issue with the sandworm, even when the book came out. Last year I even did a painting of like a dune landscape and just put a sandworm in the background. And someone was making a comment about, why is there a phallic thing back there? I'm like, it's the sandworm. They didn't know Dune, so they didn't get it. Someone else that is into Dune, they're like, cool, there's a sandworm in the background. That's awesome. So it's all a matter of perspective. But the naughty perspective hit social media, and then they just latched onto that like wildfire.
I mean, it's social media. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't until everyone started talking about it. It's like, I guess that's what you're seeing. What kind of life do you live that you're going to see this?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not here to judge.
And when they were seeing it that way too, I was like, really? I don't know why you see that, because maybe you want to interpret it that way, but yeah, no. And, one person posted, some other person posted and started making jokes about it. And then you started seeing it on like Jimmy Kimmel and, then SNL, and then it just articles started coming out. So that bucket and a few that we've designed ended up being on like Forbes and Hollywood Reporter and a whole bunch of different news outlets. And we're just going, wow, this is the popcorn bucket that could. And, at the time, some of the outlets started to report it as the golden age of popcorn buckets.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. So people are now, it's kind of like the same thing with Disney. So now people are excited to go see a movie, but to go buy a popcorn bucket. And
right.
they're keeping their eyes out. What's going to hit social media? What are the cinema people going to tweet out? Because they're now going to dictate their visit to the theater based off of whether the popcorn bucket is cool or not.
Wow,
that's funny. Now, was this a good thing or a bad thing for the Zinc group? The Dune popcorn bucket.
Well, generally speaking, I'm going to say it was a good thing because we did get a lot of attention. We also got, not only did we get a lot of attention on social media, but we also got a lot of attention in the market. So there's more and more interest. So my counterparts were at CinemaCon last week, and there was a lot of interest because they're like, well, these are the guys that did the Dune bucket, so we got more visits as a result. So that's good.
That's awesome. You have a calling card now. Please tell me you have like one of those Dune popcorn buckets always in the office that you can like bring to trade shows and things.
I have one somewhere, but usually all you have to say is, you saw the Dune 2 popcorn bucket? They're like, oh my God, it was amazing. Yeah, we did that. That actually just happened a few hours ago. So I was over at the AMC MGM studios this morning. And as we left and we were talking about a few things, the Amazon guys were talking about, we're hoping that we get some good traction on the things we want to make. And that Dune 2 popcorn bucket was so outstanding. And it got everybody's attention. And we're like, yeah, we worked on that. And they're like, oh my God. And we started asking questions. And then that led to one of the guys saying, and also that like 20-sided dice popcorn bucket was also just mind blowing. And everybody was talking about it and going, yeah, that was us too. So like, we can't wait to collaborate with you guys and see what, you guys end up coming up with. So it's nice.
The pinnacle is that SNL sketch. Oh, for you, was that like a mic drop moment? It's like, I've made it in life. Well, I'm on SNL.
I had one of my friends message me and say, dude, your bucket's on SNL. And I was like, okay. And it just finished. So she says, check it out. And she gave me like the number where it started. So I went on YouTube and saw it and hit it. And I was like, what? and yeah, at the same time, I was like, dude, we're on SNL, man.
That SNL sketch has like 2 million views, over 2 million views right now.
You were looking at it going, wait, is that really? How did they get 8 buckets? So they were given to them, but they were the real thing, and it was just amazing to it's like you're on national TV. And even when they interviewed the cast, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel. They were trying to get them to reach in, and even Josh Brolin was like, "I'm not sticking my hand in that thing."
That's hilarious.
You kind of really do need a small hand to get your hand in there and get a piece of popcorn.
That's the problem.
I kind of based it off of my hand because I have a big hand and I could stick it in. But here's the thing: if you're trying to grab like a handful of popcorn, your hand's not going to be able to come out. So just get a few kernels. You'll be okay. There'll be more. It's not the sandworm didn't eat it. He's just holding it for you.
This will teach you how to slow down while you're eating. Don't just throw it all in your mouth. So I'm at a movie. I'm not throwing all this popcorn in my mouth, and this will teach me 1 or 2 every 5 minutes.
You learn to pace yourself with it.
I was reading an article last night that said that the popcorn buckets and the sippers, this is the reason people are going back to the movies. And that's got to make you feel really good. It's not the movies anymore. It's the collectibles you can get at the concession stands.
Well, and, that's very similar to the idea that we had, doing these at Disney, because as I said earlier, the whole nag factor thing, right? It started with the nag factor, but it ended with the new buckets coming out. There's going to be a 2 to 3 hour line. My dad even waited in one of those lines, but I found out why. He waited in line because while he's in line, he, of course, is like, yeah, my son designed that.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I remember clearly this first Ghost Mickey popcorn bucket, the white one, and little Mickey's as a ghost character. He's holding a little jack-o'-lantern. And I remember clearly waiting in line. It was before the fireworks show. I was waiting for the popcorn buckets at that popcorn stand right in the middle of the hub. And they had sold out and the line was stalled. And then meanwhile, the whole hub kept filling up because it's right before the fireworks. So but then from way across the other side of the hub, we saw like 3 cast members with giant boxes on their head carrying over the crowd. And it was the restock of the Ghost Mickey popcorn buckets. And we were all like, woo! Our whole line started cheering.
Yeah, that pretty much was the first one we'd ever got. And it goes out every Halloween.
That was the first one that we introduced for the premium popcorn buckets. I was actually in Florida when we launched them at the Magic Kingdom. So we had gone to the Magic Kingdom to go see their Halloween parade. And we had never seen that whole thing with the Headless Horseman. And so I really wanted to see that. But we also went out to the park to see when they did the rope drop for the event and watch all these people clamor in. And there's a bunch of people that clamored right to the popcorn wagon. Some lady was walking away with like 2 or 3 in each hand, and the little kid's running around with his all excited and flailing his arms. It was a very, like, those are the moments that get me. They make me all like, teary eyed and happy. That like for me, one of the most moving moments was we had been developing the Baymax balloon. I don't know if you remember seeing that, but I took the Baymax balloons out into Tomorrowland to just take some pictures for publicity. And there was a little kid that was walking by, and I was holding them kind of low so that they weren't bumping around with people. Little kid comes running to my balloons, grabs the Baymax and hugs them, and he says, "I love you, Baymax." Aww. And I got all like, and at the same time, I'm looking at his mom, and she's like, "He loves Baymax so much. Thank you for letting him do that." I said, I want to give him the balloon, but I can't because they haven't come out yet. Otherwise I would. She goes, "Don't worry about it. He doesn't. That's good enough right there." And I'm like, "You just made my evening. Thank you."
Oh, that is so sweet.
It's stories like that where you can go home and go, okay, what I do matters.
Right.
Yeah. And, that's also kind of where I come from a methodology standpoint is, we're in the business to sell them and make money. But for me, that's not the primary thing. The primary thing is after the nag factor, what kind of connection do you have with it? It's like, a lot of other things. You're going to take that home. You're either going to put it in your collection, you're going to put it on your mantle. People are going to go, "Hey, you have a Ghost Mickey. Where did that come from?" So there's that whole story, and you're talking about the moment you got it. I mean, look at all the stuff you guys have. It's
oh yeah,
it's collectible level, and people want to put it in the collection. Ironically, what ends up also happening is people wait 2 hours in line and they don't want popcorn in it.
No.
They want
Either they don't want the popcorn or they get, I remember, that's actually one of my favorites too.
Yeah, this is the Carbon Froze Han Solo popcorn bucket, and when we got this, like, no, do not put popcorn in this popcorn bucket. What are you, crazy?
Yeah.
Gonna put popcorn
Nobody
in
wants
a
to be
bucket.
wiping grease out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you know, I don't even want the popcorn. Just give me the bucket. We have this in our kitchen. Everybody talks about this. Everybody's like, where did you get this? Because this is like what, almost 10 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since that one came out. For me, I thought it would be a huge collectible, but there's always some that aren't 100% sure. Should we do that? Should we not do that? No one's going to want to buy it or what have you. The Star Wars stuff, generally, it's a no-brainer because there's enough of us Star Wars fans that will go out and buy it. But some of them do. Like the obscurest one that we made was the mouse droid. You know,
Oh, that's so
there's
awesome.
a lot of people that didn't get it.
Really?
Really? Because we're always
It
seeing
can
people with these
roll.
around their necks at Galaxy's Edge.
It can roll.
It's
you
a toy.
guys.
People don't get it. And you know that hook on it, I designed it so that you can connect multiple ones at once.
That's right.
So you can pull them like a little train.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so these aren't just popcorn buckets or soda sippers. These are toys.
You know what? I don't think I even knew that was there, Marcus. There's a hook and there's a
that's
eye.
where the danger is, though. For it, you know, we walk that fine line where it's between a popcorn bucket and a toy, and if you go too far toy, there's some people that aren't gonna be cool with that.
Yeah, has Hasbro or any other company say, hey, this is our territory, back off? Have you ever gotten those comments?
You have to be careful about what you do and kind of understand where all the legal rules are. So we'll produce something. Sometimes what we produce is too much like a toy, so we have to dial it back and do something different. So or change it enough so it's more utilitarian from a popcorn bucket point of view than it is the play value. So basically, it's downplaying the play value like that.
This is like a toy.
Yeah.
Man, this is
Like you always tell Hasbro, hey, step it up. We're right on your heels.
This is amazing. Look at this, and it lights up.
Yep, that one was fun. That was a lot of fun.
I'm holding the Mighty Thor hammer that lights. It's like cracked, and it lights up. It's the one that.
Yeah, that one was for Love and Thunder.
Yeah, that Natalie Portman holds. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is why I wanted it.
All right, now show Marcus your latest acquisition.
Oh my gosh. So, Marcus, we are so invested in these items that I had a friend who was at the opening of Zootopia in Shanghai Disney. Had him bring back this little sipper, which is Nick on his little popsicle. And I mean, this is just the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. You didn't work on this, right? Is that like a different team?
No.
Okay.
Okay, put it away.
Oh.
Our China offices do work on Shanghai and stuff.
Okay.
So there are products out there that are zinc products, but I don't recall seeing them.
Okay.
They did do one that was really cool. That it was like a Chip and Dale popcorn bucket, but it was kind of like it had a very Asian, like character shape, and you push a button and the face would turn and it would open so you can get popcorn in it. And you push the button again, the face would turn and it would be Dale's face. So it went from Chip to Dale. It was pretty cool.
Wow,
that's awesome.
But, boy, the technology and the advancement is just incredible. So,
well, so right now we're working on a lot of technology kind of stuff. Little things like LED projectors, but Bluetooth technology. So make things light up, be able to change the lights with your phone.
Wow.
Bluetooth speaker kind of technology, and then some kind of doing the Disney old school is what can we do that's like that incorporates like a Pepper's Ghost effect? What can we do that also is nostalgic but still modern? So we're just kind of like trying to figure out how can we create new things that kind of are innovative, but not always necessarily, the uber cutting edge technology. It's enough of a technology that it feels different or it's different in that field. But the biggest challenge is making sure that we're still hitting acceptable price ranges because, probably $60 for a popcorn bucket at a movie theater may be a little bit too much. I'm not saying we made one. I'm just saying that, and that's just a number I threw out. It's, you get to a ceiling. I don't know what that ceiling is, but you get to a ceiling where at a certain price point, it's just too much. So we're not there yet, but we also are we try to cognitively find a balance of, what's palatable for the clients because they know what they're going to end up selling to the customers.
Right.
I think the first popcorn buckets we got were like $15. Now that Java is what, 35?
Yeah, it's like 34 or something.
But people are buying them. People are buying them.
Well, and that's what happened at Disney too. It's we started with the $15 bucket, and then we went a little bit more, and we went more elaborate. We went more paint operations. We added lights. We added sound. I mean, you guys probably have the Pete's Dragon and the snail from the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Yeah.
So
those are cute.
that was an endeavor, technologically speaking, to try to pull something different off, and we did. That one I worked on it and developed it on the Disney side, and that's about the time I left. So when we went into production and shipping, I was on the Zinc side since they were the ones that made it. So it was fun to actually be involved in a project like from beginning to pretty much the end, the whole way through, including, working with the vendor.
Wow. Can't wait to see what's coming up in the market of popcorn buckets and sippers and projectors and blankets and balloons and whatever.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff. Is there anything you can tease?
I'll say a few things, like, that, what is it? Episode 1 is coming back to the movie theaters for anniversary.
Yeah, in May.
Oh.
And if you enjoy libations at the movie theater, keep your eye out for stuff like that. People like their cocktails, and even more so if they're tied into, the movie you're going to go see. So I remember we went to AMC, and they had some sort of like ecto cocktail that they featured at the MacGuffin bar. So my kid wanted it. He's like, "Oh, that one looks good." I said, "Yeah, it does look good. It just doesn't have a cool cup to go with it. It would be kind of nice to have something like that."
So when you say libation, you mean just the drink or the drink holder?
Well, the libation itself is the drink. So like AMC very much specializes in drinks that are themed towards a particular movie. So they had a Ghostbusters cocktail. They had a Godzilla cocktail. They had a cocktail for Dungeons and Dragons, but no specialty vessels. So it'd be kind of cool to tie in a specialty vessel with alcohol. One more reason to buy something when you go to the movie theater.
Yeah, that's what they do at Oga's Cantina. Right now they're giving away the Galactic Star Cruiser glasses with a cocktail.
Giving them away. You gotta buy it, then they'll give it to you.
Yes.
Right. That was a collaboration with WDI. Yeah, and those are actually direct lifts from the Han Solo movie.
Yes.
All right, so we have something coming out from Phantom Menace. How many items will be coming up for Phantom Menace?
I'd probably say at least one. But, the big tentpole movies that are coming throughout the rest of the year are definitely things to kind of keep an eye out for. You've got Planet of the Apes coming up. You've got If, Garfield, Inside Out, Despicable Me, which may not be US for us, but then you also have Deadpool and Alien Romulus.
Yeah.
So are these exclusive to one theater chain or all of them?
I can't say. There's you've got the three big ones out there: Regal, Cinemark, and AMC. AMC is the big one that almost always has, souvenir vessels. So I'm an AMC guy myself. I usually go to AMC. I enjoy the theater experience at AMC. So
okay, we're picking up what you're dropping down. Thank you very much.
But yeah, so you've got other stuff coming down like Transformers, Venom, Gladiator, Moana 2. Yeah, so there's lots coming down the pike. You just kind of keep your eyes and ears out in social media to see what people start teasing.
Okay.
And it's not just the theaters; it's the parks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Marcus, it's been a pleasure talking to you once again. We're very excited for the future of popcorn buckets.
Yes.
Now, if people want to get a hold of you or ask you any questions or just say, "Hey, just got a Dune popcorn bucket. Look at me." Where can they get a hold of you on social media?
I have an art page on Facebook. It's Marcus Gonzalez Designs, so you could reach out there, or even on LinkedIn. So I do have a LinkedIn account that's linked to my professional work. So that's also a good place to reach out.
Awesome.
All right, great. Now I want some popcorn.
Yeah, let's do this.
Well, that wraps up episode 459 of Skywalking Through Neverland. We want to thank Marcus Gonzalez for coming on and sharing all those great stories about popcorn buckets and soda sippers and tiki mugs and so many fun collectibles. And we want to thank all you Skywalkers for watching every week, watching us on YouTube, commenting, and doing whatever you do to help us build that subscribe list on YouTube.
Now, are you interested in all of our books? We have autographed copies available of Today in Star Wars History, Parts 1 and 2, plus Skywalking Through My Fandom, an interactive notebook. They are all available now from skywalkingthroughneverland.com/book. We recently had some orders this past week of people who are ordering them for gifts for some Star Wars fans in their life. So we really appreciate that. Skywalkers, if you need a gift, that's a good book. All right, and then we are going to be at several conventions and several meetups in the next couple months, and on our website we now have a tab that says event calendar, and so you can click on that and see all of where to go and meet us and see us at conventions. Also on our Facebook page, Skywalking Through Neverland, the events tab there will have those same events. So yeah, we're several coming up. Too much to list here.
Yes, a lot coming in May. Now, do you want to support Skywalking Through Neverland in other ways? Well, consider supporting us through the Skywalking Force, which is our Patreon. The Skywalking Force has access to bonus content in the form of Zoom discussions on the latest Disney Plus shows. We'll pick up the Bad Batch discussions very shortly since there's only a few more episodes left.
Yeah, you'll also get a coupon code to use for our books, and that bonus content begins at only $5 a month. So head to skywalkingforce.com and have a look at all the options available. And thank you so much to those of you who are already part of the Skywalking Force.
Now, we want to thank our sponsor once again, Small World Vacations, for their continued support. Thinking of a trip to a Disney park or a cruise? We can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so check it out and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
All right, Skywalkers, get ready. This is your turn.
Okay.
We are part of the Skywalking Network.
Where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes,
the Max Effects Podcast,
the Neverland Clubhouse,
Totally Tell Me Everything,
Star Warsologies,
and the YouTube shows Collectopolis and
Today in Star Wars History.
Courtney got it. All right, Skywalkers, in between shows, you can find us on social media. Be sure to check out our reels on Instagram at SkywalkingPod and also our Facebook group. Just search Skywalking Through Neverland on Facebook and or YouTube and follow us there. You can also email share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
Now, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show right after the credits. And
always remember
to make sure you're over 18 if you're going to buy a sandworm dune popcorn bucket. And
Neverland on Alderaan.
Alrighty.
So do your thing.
Okay. My what?
Your clappy claps. Oh, Reynolds said that was where he was introduced to our podcast.
Oh.
That makes sense. I remember Reynolds.
Yes, I remember him saying that.
Yeah. I heard that Oscar Isaac was good in the film, though.
I heard Sting was really good in the film, too.
What? Bye.
Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.